Okay, let's have a quick look at the theory behind distributed communities before we get down to the practical. Government projects have a lot of pressures. They're the government requirements, there's the efficiency and effectiveness of a project, and community expectation, and these all pull projects in different ways. One of the things that we have to control very carefully. There are also forces on government projects. This is based on Porter's 5 forces diagram, very similar to the ones that would apply in commerce. Governance, of course, is given, the process, the people, and the IT. We have performance demands coming from government, whether it's from the Senate or from ministers or from other government departments. We have costs and constraints in terms of how you can tender, how you can purchase. There are external alternatives that affect this: subcontracting, outsourcing, self-service. And this is all taking place in a huge environment of change. Change is pervasive. There's new legislation, new policy. The population is changing. The age structure of the population is changing. Business is changing. And e-business has had a lot to do with that. Now, when you apply those forces across something like delivering an educational community across Australia, one must deal not only with the highest level of government, but also with state governments and also with regional requirements, because the Northern Rivers area of New South Wales is really very different from the sort of conditions that occur in the interior. Tropical medicine is really very different, for instance, from the north to the south of the country. So quite a good focus, regionalisation focus, is required as well. Now, you're going to see this slide and go, whoa, this looks like jargon. Well, it is, and I'm sorry about that, but let's break it down into one bite-sized chunk at a time. Personalisation is actually the key to making this work out there. Markets of one or small interest groups, whether it's specialised education or regional groups. Now, it's based around the personalisation of a My Page, because that's where you do interaction and planning for your learning plans. That's where people can identify, record and publish external resources. We're not here to reinvent the wheel, we're here to share what people have done. Developing individuals and their personal growth is absolutely critical, because if they don't see benefit, then why should they be a member of the team? But it's through that we can then join communities, record membership of communities, and help contribute communities, which is really at the heart of this design. So we'll just have a quick look at this. Now, I'm going to emphasize the jargon is the long tail, but this is an SAP slide that I've taken it from, because they were looking at it more from a commercial viewpoint, saying that 70% of my spend is directed at 20% of my suppliers are the ones that really matter. And the SAP's point is that, in fact, that's what it looks like, but it's not really true. Now you start applying this to, say, a medical community. The bulk of your spend is with a few key partners. Well, that would be perhaps state medical organisations, large medical groups. Yes, that's true. But remote locations pose a higher risk. Well, how very true. And that is where the relationships change, and that is where the total cost of sourcing is so much higher. It is much easier to maintain a medical practice, gross generalisation, but within a large city than it is within some of the outlying areas, although parts of cities also have problems, as we know. So, how do you reach out the long tail where the cost is? One of this is to have multi-organisation value nets. What that means is that you work with other people and you work together to get it out there. Complementers. In our example here, it's third-party education suppliers. Leverage high-quality internal and cross-enterprise processes. That means basically we work together to make sure that training and recruitment works and is recorded. Now, all of this is taking place in what we might call an extranet, extending the organisation out. Now, when I used to do this diagram, we'd cut that off around where this dotted line is, but now already you can see re-engineering taking place right across government, and what actually takes place within the intranet, within the organisation alone, is much, much smaller than it used to be, because we're building much better collaborative partnerships than we used to have. So this is good news. It's also critical within this educational community. Training content providers, professional colleges, universities, other stakeholders all participate. This can't be done in isolation, and so we have to have collaborative workspaces, and that is critical to community. When we build these systems, we must make room for third-party suppliers and help them get market share, help them get visibility. If we try and grab it all within, it's not going to work. And so what we've done in this case within the catalogue is, if you're enrolled with a third-party supplier, you can go straight there and play it. If you're not enrolled, we'll take you to a page where you can find out about enrolling with Contact with the third-party supplier, so that you get publicity by being in the catalogue. You can come up in searches and so on, and if people haven't enrolled you, and if you've got valuable content, then there's the capability to enroll. In other words, really supporting third-party suppliers, educational suppliers out there, and helping get their material out. Now, we won't spend too much more down there, but what it does mean is, it means that everybody's specialising in core competencies. We're managing the environment, third-party suppliers are doing what they do well, and that's developing and leveraging relationships. Okay. Why do we have to have technology specifically designed for this? Because the complexity of work can increase as you collaborate. Now, you can't have everybody duplicating effort all over the country if you can avoid it. So let's work together and coordinate some of that work. That increases the complexity, but it also increases the organisational scope, because we're starting to work across organisations. It's not just one little work group in the past. It's almost an integrated or extended enterprise. It's a community. Okay. Now, we won't go into the detail here of the boxes. You can come back and look at this later if you want. But basically you need cross-functional communication, and you need collective information decision making. And you need tools to improve that flow of work between the groups and to connect to outside. And that's where we have a look at how those are built into Metanode and how we use them. But it means then that we can go from more sophisticated towards more sophisticated approaches, from places where we used to just exchange a bit of data, maybe by SneakerNet or disk, through to open collaboration. That's really what we're searching for, and then having business processes that are common across the whole community that we've brought together to work together. Now, we'll have a look at some specific, how does it really work on the ground with the community area, with personalization, and with supporting a catalogue.